Feel
All
good.
right.
That's
Yeah,
good.
we're here at Farmer Stan's fishing class down here in beautiful Carrollton, Maryland, right off of Route 30, not far away from Farmer Stan's place. It's produce, which is a pretty good place.
I heard it's good prices there.
Yeah, and our first
I already
class
caught
today,
some.
we got
Hey, I like how you sprung that on us.
yeah. We got some students here today that are a little shaky, to
I
say the
already caught
least.
some.
He's been hooked twice. Jono, he
I got
has a rig
15.
here that is big enough to catch a white marlin.
I'm ready.
Which I don't think we're going to find here in Carrollton Pond, but we're going to do our best. But we're going to learn about tying a knot. So, first of all, if I had my glasses, it would help. But when you tie a knot, you got to get it like that, guys. See this here? And then you wrap it around 5
How many?
times. 5.
Why 5?
1, 2, because that's 5. 5 stars. 5. Wrap it around 5 times, and then you come back
How
through.
come you're not rapping?
It's wrapped.
Oh,
He's already
I got
rigged
mine
up.
wrapped
Come
already.
back through the loop like this,
after 5.
and then back up and pull tight. And there you got it.
What was that little thing you did at the
you
end?
give it
Well, I
kiss?
like to give it a little kiss. Yeah,
Ah, okay, all right.
Gives it a little bit
All
of
right,
kiss.
that
everybody
extra
try.
So,
Okay.
Mwah.
yeah, that's it. And that'll help you catch more fish if you kiss your rod.
You are joining us online. A special welcome to you. We are getting ready to start a brand new series. If you're in Hampstead or Eldersburg this morning, thanks for joining us. My name is Reid, if we haven't met, and I am a little skeptical about the Farmer Stan's Fishing School. But I'm going to give it a try. And so, this is a new season. It's June, and we're going to learn how to fish together. And that has what to do with your faith, you ask? I'll tell you in just a second. This series, though, starts with a question. And here's the question, and somebody sitting next to you wants to know the answer to this question. Or if you're online, the other people gathered with you online want to know the answer to this question. Or if you're sitting at home, I don't know, call somebody. Somebody wants to know the answer to this question. Here's the question, okay? So turn to the person next to you or online and answer this question. Are you a fisherman? That's the question, or a fisherwoman if you prefer. Okay, on your mark, get set, go. Go ahead, answer that question. Good, okay. No? Some of you, it's a very simple question, right? Some of you didn't even answer at all. I'm not sure what is up with that. You should answer the question. Okay, let me answer the question. Am I a fisherman? No. Have I fished? Yes, there's a difference. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I went fishing when I was a little guy with my dad. And most recently, I've been able to go on a couple of fly fishing trips out west. And I absolutely love it. But I'm not a fisherman. I don't tie the knot. I don't kiss my rod. I don't put the fly thing. I don't do any of that. I just throw it in. And when the fish comes, I yank it out. And I love it. Here's a couple of pictures of me. Here's the first one. I think I've shown these before. But this is one of the first fish that I caught. I was so proud of catching this fish because I'm not a fisherman. But yet you can still catch fish. And so I was holding it and everything. And if anybody here is, or you're watching online, if you're a fisherman, you know that I'm holding this fish the wrong way, don't you? Yeah, because how big does the fish look? Tiny little fish, right? Now, I caught one later that same week, and I held it differently. Look at that. I know, same size fish. I just held it out like this. And if you're a fisherman, you know that's what you're supposed to do in the picture. So the fish looks really big. It's about the same size. If you look at my hand looks like it's gigantic, in this picture. It's like half the size of my body. I am not a fisherman, but I do fish. Okay, take that slide down. Second question. I'm not going to make you turn. I'm not going to make you type the answer to this question. But here's the second question. Are you a fisherman? Are you a Christian? Are you, let's give a couple other, because maybe fisherwoman, you would like that one. Are you a believer? I'll give you the one we're going to use today. Are you a follower of Jesus? It's a similar question, and whether you would answer that question, and some of you did out loud here, maybe some of you did online. If you answer that question, yes. If you answer that question, no. Or if you answered that question, I don't know. There is something that God wants to teach you today about that question, about the answer that you gave to that question. And it has to do with fishing. So we're going to look at a few verses from the first chapter of the Gospel of Mark, where Jesus actually asks people if they are going to follow him or not, and their reaction to it, and his intention for after they have answered for them. And then we're going to unpack that for all of us to understand how in the world does fishing affect my faith. And so let me read to you from Mark chapter 1, starting in verse 16. It says this: passing alongside the Sea of Galilee, he, Jesus, saw Simon and Andrew, the brother of Simon. Simon eventually is named Peter, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. Now, I'm not sure why he thinks he has to say that at that point. Who else casts nets into the water other than fishermen? But apparently that's an important point, because he wants you to know they would have answered the question that I asked. Yes, I am a fisherman. All right, just keep that in mind. And then Jesus said to them, follow me, and I will make you become fishers of men. And immediately they left their nets and followed him. And going on a little farther, he saw James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother, who were in the boat mending the nets. But he assumes that you've caught on by now that they're fishermen. And immediately he called them, and they left their father Zebedee in the boat with the hired servants and followed him. That's all I'm going to read today. This is the beginning of our summer series called Go Fish. And so it is, in one sense, laying the groundwork for why you should be interested for the next 6 weeks. And I hope that God prompts you, God nudges you, however you would answer the question, are you following Jesus today, that there is an opportunity for you to go on a journey with Jesus over these next 6 weeks. And it starts by understanding these couple of elements of what we just read. I want to make sure you're crystal clear on a couple of things. One, what was the invitation that Jesus gave? What was the invitation? Jeff, just keep that one up there for right now. We're going to come back to that. But let me give you the other three, and then we'll come back to this one, because I don't think I have a list. But anyway, what's the invitation? Second, what is his intention if you decide to accept the invitation? What does Jesus intend for them, for you? Third, how do they respond to the invitation? And then fourth, so what? That's a great one. So what? All right, Reid, I listened to your 3 points. So what? And we're actually going to do those questions. What was the invitation? What was his intention? What was the reaction? And so what? Twice. We're going to do it once with the disciples so you get the hang of it. And then we're going to do it once with you. So you're going to answer those questions for you and Jesus. But let's do them first. We'll use the disciples here as a model for these 4 different questions. So, number 1, what is Jesus' invitation to them? Come follow me. Come follow me. That was his invitation to Simon and Andrew and James and John. He doesn't invite them to pray a prayer. He doesn't invite them to do all sorts of other religious things that you could think about. The one thing that Jesus invites these 4 guys to do is just this: follow me. And this is important because it was a common invitation that a rabbi would give to students. Back in the first century, if you were a young Jewish child, you would go to school, Hebrew school, up until about 12 years old, about middle school age. And then, if you were the best of the best, you would get picked to go to rabbi school. And then you could follow a rabbi and continue your learning to actually become a rabbi one day. But if you were not the best of the best of the best, you would graduate from the 6th grade and you would go learn your family's business. And you would become a carpenter or a fisherman. And that was what you would do with the rest of your life. And so the rabbi would come along and say, come follow me, to the people that he believed had what it took to become like him. And that's the words that Jesus uses for these guys. Come follow me. They knew what that meant. This wasn't a random phrase just pulled out of nowhere. It was Jesus communicating something to them about what he thought about them. Now, what do you know about the 4 guys, even if you've never read the Bible before in your life? Based on what I've just told you, you know something about Simon, Andrew, James, and John. They didn't get picked. How do you know that? Because they were fishing. Maybe that's why he said, for they were fishermen. They weren't in rabbi school. And they had been fishing. That was what they did, because they graduated from the 6th grade and they went and they learned the craft, and that's who they were. They didn't get picked. And then what happens? Jesus picks them. They went to work that morning. Imagine this, right? They went to work thinking this is going to be just like every other day fishing. But it wasn't, because a rabbi came up and gave them those words that they thought had long since passed their lives. Come follow me. Which gives you a little bit of an idea of why they responded the way they did, right? It wasn't just this random, hey, tired of fishing? Try something else. Come sell knives, door to door, something like that. It was Jesus saying something very specific about what he thought about them. So, number 1, what was the invitation? The invitation was, follow me. And they knew what that meant. Okay, second question. What was Jesus' intention for them? Well, it's the second half of the sentence. He said, come follow me, and I will do what? Make you become fishers of men. There it is. Make you, boom, make you fishers of men. Now, that may not sound weird to you, and if it doesn't sound weird to you, it's because you've heard it before. You've maybe Sunday school, or maybe you've heard me say it before, or maybe you just read it in the Bible before. But if that doesn't sound weird to you, it's because you've heard it before. Because if you've never heard that before, that's a weird thing to say. It's like saying Jesus comes up to you as a landscaper and says, come follow me, and I'm going to make you landscape people. And you'd be like, what? That makes no sense. And because you've heard it, maybe you're thinking, but I can almost guarantee you that when they said it, the 4 guys had no idea what he meant. He knew that they were going to go follow this rabbi. They knew what that meant. He thought about them, but they had no idea what this business meant. Now, I think it seems contextual, because Jesus comes to other guys and says, come follow me. Matthew was a tax collector, and he doesn't say, hey, come and I want you to count men. There was a zealot, and he didn't say, hey, come, be zealous for men. It didn't say that. But I think at this first invitation, Jesus was saying, you think that this is what the rest of your life is going to be about. And maybe it will be. But if you follow me, I'm going to give your life a completely different purpose. I'm going to use what you are, what you have been, and I'm going to use it for something that you can't even imagine yet. And so he says, come follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. Now, notice that he doesn't say he's going to make them a whole bunch of other things. He doesn't say, come follow me, and I'm going to make you smarter or wiser or a better husband or a better fisherman, because they're not great fishermen, or more religious. I'm not going to make you. What am I going to make you? And this is the thing that he picks out. The one thing that Jesus says, I'm going to make you, is a fisher of men. And so Jesus invites these 4 guys to follow him. And he says, here's my intention. I'm going to turn you into something. And what I'm going to turn you into is a fisher of men. Probably had no idea what it meant. Okay, third question. How did they respond? What was their reaction? It's sort of amazing, isn't it? They immediately leave everything and follow him. Now, some of you are going like, well, they must not like fishing, very much, or their dad, or something, right? Because there's some of you that are like, if somebody showed up to my job and said, hey, you want to quit today? You'd go, sign me up. I'm out. Kind of really didn't matter, where they were going. I don't think that was it. I think it had to do with the opportunity that they knew Jesus was asking them to come to. Let me make a couple of comments about their reaction. Their reaction was they left everything and followed Jesus. 2 comments. One is Mark leaves something very important out of the story, and so does Matthew. This is in 3 of the Gospels. But in Luke's Gospel, we get a more extended story, and maybe you've heard it before. In Luke's Gospel, it tells us that not only were they there in the morning with their nets, but their nets were empty. That they had, in fact, been out fishing all night, maybe you know the story, and they caught nothing. And to that scenario, Jesus shows up and says, I love this, throw your net on the other side of the boat. And I'm not a fisherman. I've already told you that. But can I tell you, I don't think underneath the boat necessarily has sides. You going with me here? It's not like these fish stay on this side of the boat. The boat stays perfectly still, and there's fish on the other side of the boat. But Jesus says, try the other side. And so they try the other side, and maybe you know the story, maybe you've watched The Chosen, maybe you've seen this thing, and that they have more fish than they know what to do with. So Luke adds that little part to it. I think it's interesting that the Gospel of Mark, most people think, is Mark writing down Peter's story. So Peter sort of left out the part that he had caught no fish all night. But it happens again, actually right after the resurrection. Same group is out fishing. Same result. Caught nothing. Jesus shows up, try the other side, same thing happens. And so there is something about their reaction that makes way more sense if you've just seen this guy say, try the other side of the boat, and you've had more fish than you've ever seen in your life. I'm probably going with him no matter what he says at that point, whether I know what he means or not. So that's the first comment. But the second one is, if you would have asked them at this point, are you a follower of Jesus? They would not have been confused by the question. It would have been a very simple, yep. I just left everything to follow him. That's exactly what I am. I don't know what that will mean going forward, but that is exactly what I am doing. I am following Jesus. There were questions that they couldn't answer, though. Think of a couple of questions they couldn't answer. Do you know where you're going? No, we just covered that. Do you know where this guy is from? Why is he, able to call a new group of disciples? They wouldn't have had that answer. What are your parents going to think? They wouldn't have had that answer. Can you explain the Trinity? They wouldn't have had that answer. But they knew how to answer this question. Are you following him? And they would go, uh-huh, yep. And in that moment, there is a clarity, I think, that provides all sorts of direction, of confidence, of opportunity to say, what's Jesus' invitation? To follow him. What's his intention? To make you a fisher of men. And what's your reaction? To follow him. I'm going to leave everything and follow him. All right, there was one more question for the disciples. You remember what it was? So what? Good question. So what, Reid? Well, so what? They did it, and that's why you're here. Think about it. If they did not become fishers of men, you and I would not be here today. If all that they did was follow, but they never fished, you and I wouldn't be here today. Because it was a critical part of the invitation of Jesus to come follow him, is that he was going to make them something. What he was going to make them affected your life. And aren't you glad? I'm glad. I'm glad that he made them what he said he was going to make them. So, all right, that's round one. In summary, invitation of Jesus, follow me. His intention, if you follow, make you a fisher. Your reaction, theirs was, left everything and followed him. So what? Here we are 2,000 years later. It worked. The plan of turning followers into fishers actually works, and it still does. Okay, you ready for round two? Well, we're going to do it anyway. It doesn't matter. Number one, what's Jesus' invitation to you? Well, it shouldn't be very hard. Come follow me. Come follow me. That's the same invitation that he gave to every disciple for all of time. It is come follow me. And when you hear Jesus give you that invitation, it means that he believes something about you. He believes that you can become like him. In fact, he promises that. In the scripture, it says that one day when we see Jesus face to face, we will be like him. He believes that's in you, that you can become like him. That's what Christian actually means, little Christs. You can become like your Savior. Will you have to leave some things behind that you've gotten used to being defining things in your life? Maybe, like the fishermen. But you have the same invitation as they do. Come, follow me. This is an invitation for literally everyone. And let me tell you why I think that's important before we move on to question number two. It's important because some of you believe in Jesus, but you've stopped following him somewhere along the way. You've gained all the information, but you forgot to follow. You forgot to continue to accept the invitation, and the invitation is to follow. And then he will make you some things. So everybody here, there's an invitation on the table from Jesus. Will you follow me? Second, what's his intention with you? What's exactly the same? He's going to make you fishers of men. Do you know exactly what that means? You should shake your head like this. No, I do not. Even if I heard this in Sunday school, I don't actually quite have it all figured out yet. Me either. But I can tell you with certainty, this is Jesus' intention. I will make you not smarter, wiser, better husband, better child, better sibling, better teacher, better computer operator. He's going to make you a fisher of men. And so his intention for you is the same as his intention for every follower. Because here's the truth. Followers fish. Followers of Jesus fish for people. He puts us into the people game. In other words, his intention is to use your life, like all of your life, all of the experiences, all of the mundane, all of the painful, all of the joys, and he's going to use all the stuff that happens between birth and death. This sort of part right here, he's going to take that and give eternal meaning to temporary experiences. That's what he's going to make you. And that is so important because isn't that what happened to you? Here's what makes someone a great fisher of people. You have a story. And you combine that story with the message of the gospel. And then you insert a relationship that God has ordained, and boom, there's fish. There is a bounty. You take your experiences, your whole life, all of that stuff, you combine it with the message and a relationship, and God does his best work right there. That is what God intends to do with your life. It's what he intends to do with all of our lives, because followers fish. All right, third one. What's your response? What's your reaction? Well, that's up to you. I can't tell you what yours is. You kind of have to do it. But one comment here. I'm pretty sure that for most of us, if you decided at some point to be a follower of Jesus, or if you are in the process of deciding whether that's something that you want to do or not, becoming a fisher of men is not at the top of your list of why. Am I right? Yeah, no, I'll give you for me. For me, it was, I want to make my life better and be better at life. And I don't want to go to hell. Sign me up. Maybe for you, it's, I want to not be, I want to know someone's with me always. I'm lonely. I want you to fix my marriage, or I need help with my kids, or I need to be a part of a community, and somewhere like way down the list was like, and if you could teach me to fish for people. I get that. I understand that point. But it doesn't change the fact that Jesus said, followers fish. That's the one thing I'm going to make them. I'm going to make their lives matter forever in someone else's life. You know, the one journey language, we said it this way. You're alive to change someone's life. That's basically what you're doing on the planet until Jesus takes you home. And what a privilege that is. Now, before we end, let me say, and I'm going to do the so what for you, I promise. But let me say this. This is just the introduction to Go Fish. And we are going to do a deep dive into fishing. We are going to make it uncomplicated. We're going to go to not Farmer Stan Fishing School, but Savior Jesus Fishing School. And we're going to learn the why, the what, the how, all of that, to make it unmysterious, because Jesus is making you a fisher of men. But before we get there, let's just answer this question. So what? So what in your life? Well, first, if you are not following Jesus, you're off the hook. See what I did there? You're a little slow this morning. That was really funny. if you're not following, you're off the hook for a second. But I think that this is a wonderful perspective on what are the people who are following supposed to be doing with their lives. Maybe today you will decide, I didn't know that was the invitation. I thought the invitation was to become a church person or to learn the Bible or to be more moral or be, I don't know, a better husband. All of those things are byproducts of the invitation. The invitation is simply this: come follow me. Will it require you to leave some things maybe that you've been used to defining your life by? Maybe. Will you know every answer before you decide to follow? Probably not. But if you're not following Jesus right now, there's an invitation on the table to come follow. You don't need any special class to know how to do that, to say yes to that invitation. You just say yes. And maybe you want to do that today. Maybe you're watching and you want to do that. So in one sense, if you're not following yet, you're off the hook. On another hand, there's a wonderful opportunity. Okay, but for some of you who answered yes when I said, hey, are you following Jesus? You said, yep, I am. Well, here's the truth. Followers fish. And if you're not fishing, maybe you're not following. And so what is critically important. And if you're following and not fishing, I have an idea why. I think I probably know one of the reasons anyway why, and here it is. You forgot what it felt like to be a fish. Because we were all fish once. Nobody started this program as a follower of Jesus. At some point, you responded to the invitation and said, I'm going to follow. And then Jesus said, I'll make you fishers. But we quickly forget what it felt like to be a fish. You forgot what it feels like to wonder if your life actually is going to add up to mean anything. You forgot what it feels like to worry about what is God pleased with and what is he not pleased with. These people say this and these people say this, and I don't know what to think. You forgot what it feels like to wonder if you matter to anyone, really. You remember that? It's some of you, it's been so long, you just forgot what that feels like. And you think that in order to have some kind of useful interaction with somebody, you have to lead them through a class on the Bible or something. Probably not how it happened for you. Maybe, but probably not. It was probably someone's life experience combined with the message and a relationship that they built with you. And it worked. God does his best work right there. And so here's your homework for this week. I want you to think about, what did it feel like when somebody first told you that God loved you, had a purpose for your life, and wanted you to be a part of his family? What did that feel like? And be aware, or at least open to saying, God, is there someone in my life that needs to know that truth? And maybe with that message and my story and my relationship with them, God's going to make you a fisher before you even know what happened to you. So there is an opportunity for us to share stories during this series. And one of them that we're going to show today, before we do our last closing here at the service, is from Farmer Stan himself. We asked, hey, Stan, can you just tell us your story? And he said, yes. So I'm going to pray, and then we're going to see Farmer Stan's story. Let's pray. Jesus, thank you. Thank you for every story represented by everybody watching and everybody listening right now. And I pray right now for folks who are going to be following after today. Not perfectly, not with all the answers, but they're going to follow. God, I pray for those of us who have been following and not fishing, that you would make us aware of the power of our story and how you have placed us here to impact the lives of others. God, thank you for this community. And as we tell stories, I pray that your message would gain momentum and power, and in all of it, you'd be glorified. We pray it in your name. Amen. Check out Stan's story.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm better known in the area as Farmer Stan. My name is Stan Debkowski. Some people call me Captain Stan. I am now the wonderful ripe age of 68 years old. Looking back to my childhood days, I had great parents who took care of me, watched over me, took me to church. As years went on, through my teenage and late teen years, I was a little wild and crazy growing up in the 70s and 80s. I loved rock and roll, still do, but as I got a little bit older, got a little bit closer to God at that point. Then I met my amazing wife, Kelly, who already knew the Lord, and we got together and dated for a bit and got married, and we both got a lot closer to God as our marriage grew. As years went on, and being a follower of Christ, I realized how much God loved me, and I guess the biggest change in my life is how to treat people and try to be a good person all the time and do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. Realized so much once we got involved in a couple churches in the community that it was in the giving that you received. And I don't mean giving money as much as I mean giving your time and energy and helping other people in the community doing God's work. I was at Balker's over in Westminster for years, met a lot of Christian folks over there through my walk with the agricultural community. Opened up a business over on Route 30 here south of Hampstead. Started a little fish hook ministry there where I took kids fishing every Tuesday night. We would catch lots and lots of fish. Now to this day, in fact, last weekend somebody came into my store and said, "You took my son fishing when he was a little kid and he loves to fish now." And he also still talks about you praying. And he said to you, "Mr. Stan, are you going to pray more or are we going to fish more?" But we fished a lot and we did pray some. So there was opportunity there just to witness to little people and their parents, because I always had them bring a parent to come along. Fishing for men is difficult for everybody. Praying with somebody when you know they're having issues, whether they believe or not, is something that opens that door. And just when you feel the presence of the Spirit pushing you to talk to somebody about Christ, do so. Don't be scared. It never hurts to pray. If you don't know God, it's hard to find Him, so a lot of people don't. So that's our job. It's fishing for men is building the kingdom. Wherever you are, you can fish, and there's plenty of fish out there. So I suggest keep fishing, use whatever bait works for you, and when you bring people to the kingdom, you've done well.